And he said, I thought she was 21. She had to be 21 to get on the platform. I said, she told you over and over again she was 15.
Yeah.
Everybody has to say they're a certain age to get on these platforms. Kids do it all the time, whether it's a gaming platform or a social platform or whatever it is. And Instagram, even the mainstream platforms, you're supposed to be of a certain age. And they circumvent that all the time. And predators know that. Then that's why they go there to establish these relationships and these conversations.
He showed up with condoms, weed, 2 guns. He parked like he could get out of there like a bat out of hell. He knew that he was doing wrong, but he was trying so hard. He thought he was slick as shit. He's like, I didn't do anything illegal. I didn't no one, so I didn't commit a crime. And Chris is just like, sir, I got some bad news for you.
The crime is in the transcription.
Hey guys, gals, and non-binary pals, it's your buddy David Lyon, and welcome to the X5 Podcast. You're tuned in for another week here. If it's your first time tuning in, make sure you like and subscribe, and leave a comment for the algorithm. Our guest today, we have a couple of guests in here.
The algorithm, I love that.
Got our buddy JD Delay right here, everybody. Make some
JD Delay, what's up, man? Thanks for being here, too.
It's an honor and a pleasure to be here with y'all. Thank you guys for having me.
Very special guest, Jeff Allen.
Oh, thank you.
Today.
Oh, I feel
we
so
never
blessed.
get a chance to see him in the room. Our old pal is back in the studio with us, Chris Hansen, everybody.
Yes,
Mr. Chris
good to be
Hansen.
here. Nice to see you, gents.
How are you?
Always a pleasure to be here.
Man, so Chris Hansen, TruBlu Network. Make sure if you're the last person on earth that hadn't downloaded the streaming app, please download it. It's the best content. So I like to say it's like the Predator Investigations unfiltered. There's nothing is cut out. It's great. It's amazing shows, amazing episodes, but you get to see 100% of every bit of what goes into it. Like in the past, you kind of had to.
Well, in the old days, we would do a sting operation. Say we got 20 guys. Well, they'd cut that up into 2 hours of television. We learned later when we do Predator Raw on MSNBC, people wanted to see the grittiness of it. And now on TruBlu, when we do the Takedown investigations, we take people way behind the scenes. So just last night, as you know, we were working with the Blount County Sheriff's Department, Mark Moon's people, and we had a guy who was a teacher coach near Birmingham show up for a teenage girl. He gets away. He gets to his car. They go get him and bring him back. But my crew was able to get into the chase vehicle to get the entire thing. The guy's had 2 guns in his car. He's got weed. He's got condoms. He's got everything he needs for his little sex party with this teenage girl. But you see all that unfold. And it's not only important to get in the minds of these predators to understand how they go about the grooming process and how they choose their victims and how they consummate these desires of theirs, these fantasies, but you see it unfold in real time.
It's great. You know what we should do too, and we'll talk about this off camera, but maybe we should set up like an X5 podcast promo code.
That would be great.
So
and I will get that for you. I should have had that for you today.
That way,
but I will get it for you. Yes.
Not to put you on the spot.
No. That way, no. It's a good idea. We've done it before, and we should. That's on me. I should have had it in my pocket when I walked in here today. But I will.
It's all good, But maybe we should do that. That way, at least our subs and stuff can go in and get a little bit off, and because. Dude,
you know what? I'm going to text my co-founder, Sean Reck, right now.
Yes.
Yeah. All right. I'm going to get one before the end.
Y'all need to tune in and see what your neighbors are up to. You ought to tune into the show and see what your neighbors are up to. They're getting undressed. They're talking about the naked guy.
Well, hold on. I want to say this right quick with the Blount County Sheriffs and Mark Moon. I really respect the way they let Chris do the investigations because they're old school to catch a predator to where they allow the perp to come into the house. They allow Chris to come out and do a confrontation with him, and then they do the arrest takedown if it folds out. Yeah. That's my favorite way to watch it. I know some of the investigations he does, they arrest him first, or they do the arrest first.
Depending on which jurisdiction. For instance, it's all when we're down in Polk County, Florida. But, you could argue in that scenario because the guy's already been through the Miranda because he's already given an initial statement or maybe told the Polk County Sheriff's deputies to pound sand, we get a more in-depth insight into his mind. So you could argue it both ways. Yeah. For instance, we've had guys in Polk County, Florida, who tell the detectives to pound sand, we're not talking. Then I walk in the room and they fanboy.
Yeah.
And they tell me everything.
Yeah.
So that's helpful all the way around. So, it all works.
Yeah.
And it gives each jurisdiction with which we work its own unique sense of how we do things. We did one last week in Louisiana, Livingston Parish, 11 guys in 3 days. And it was a different 11 guys in 3 days.
Guys.
And it was a new place for us, 20 minutes from Baton Rouge, an hour from New Orleans, and we saw, the confluence of people showing up because of that. And it touches all issues, illegal immigration. We had a guy who had been in the New Orleans Police Academy. We had a guy show up who had been busted and made the news several years ago for videotaping sex with a 14-year-old girl in a high school classroom. He was 18 at the time in high school, but this made the news all over the place. He gets a break because of his age. He shows up in this sting last week.
Jesus.
They don't stop.
Well, we've had this discussion, JD has been on my podcast. We chopped it up. We talked about it all. It was a pleasure to have his insight into this. And, some of these guys will not stop.
Yeah. It's a sickness, I feel.
Well, it is. And people ask me all the time, just because I've come face to face with, 600, 650, maybe 700 of these guys over the years, what makes them do this? And I don't think there's one single issue here. I think some of the guys are wired this way. I think some of the guys have an experience in their life that makes them this way. And I think some of the guys they get so caught up in the porn, and the child porn and the fantasy of it that it no longer satisfies them, and they have to fulfill this fantasy, and that's when they show up.
When we started doing these things with you, when you think pedophile, when you think child molester, when you think rapist, our brain tells us it's these people that look weird and they're this or that, or they're super introverted, sheltered people that are like, that's not the case. I mean, a lot of the times it's people that, is out here that you deal with on a daily basis.
You could be standing up there at the general store with them at the
Absolutely.
counter and not know it.
That's part of how they operate, is by hiding in plain sight. A lot of them are really charismatic.
That's right.
A lot of them are leaders in their community, and they put themselves in places where they have access to children. That's why we see so many in churches, so many in schools. I mean, how many Disney employees has it been now? They work their way.
Well, every time we do a sting with Polk County, we see Disney employees.
I
mean, that's who lives in that area. So I understand that.
But they all have something in common, at least. I don't remember how many episodes and stings we've done together.
This will be 18.
Which is a pretty good bit. But man, all of them, they all have that same trait though. They're low self-esteem, fucking loser pieces of shit at the core. And like, sorry to be so graphic, but they really are. Like they all have that, you know what I mean? That mentality that, and a lot of them are great talkers, or they think they are.
Yeah. Until they get in front of Chris Hansen.
Until they get in front of this guy.
Until I cut their throat from ear to ear. But, here's the other thing that I see more and more. They blame the victim.
Oh, 100%.
She told me. She said it was okay. She's 14, 15 years old. She doesn't have the ability to give you the consent.
Yeah. It's so crazy. And they all have those. They constantly try to spin this in their mind and spin this shit in their mind and in their head to justify what they're doing. And I love seeing him just eat their fucking lunch.
Well, they're never doing anything.
Yeah.
They're never there to do anything. I wasn't going to do anything.
No.
I was just coming here. I wasn't going to do anything.
And like it's our fault that we're doing this to them. We had this guy last week in Louisiana. So the guy who washed out of the police academy.
Yeah.
Christian Medina is his name. He has this whole master-slave fantasy that he's playing out, and the decoy with the Livingston Parish Sheriff's Office is, yes, master, yes, man. Tell me what you're going to do and how you're going to do it, and this is what's going to happen. This guy is an hour away in New Orleans, sitting in his apartment doing this.
Right.
He was in the police academy. He got caught shoplifting at Target. He resigned, and now he's a truck driver in the beverage business, and he's doing this master-slave stuff. He sent 4 Ubers to our sting house to bring this child, who he thought was 14, to him, where he was going to play out this fantasy, which he admitted to me he had done before with other people, although he claimed that they were adult women.
Right.
We co-opted one of the Uber drivers to come into the house and had her play along and call him and say, look, I can't transport this child. She's too young. I can't take her an hour away. So he knew. So when I sat down with him after they sent out the local sheriffs to arrest him in Jefferson Parish, I sat down with him. He had already put his orange uniform on then because he was in custody of the Livingston County, the Livingston Parish sheriff. And he tried to spin it like, well, you know, it was just a fantasy. I figured she was of age. Of course she was of age. I said, well, what happened when the Uber driver called you? Well, you know, well, he knew she was 14.
Yeah.
4 Ubers, Charlie, he said.
That's
How about that Uber driver? What was that like?
She was great. She was great. She played right into it. I mean, look, the sheriff's detective said, hey, look, here's the deal. Chris Hansen's with us. We got cameras rolling. We don't have to show your identity, but, you know, this is going to help us in this investigation. And she played right along.
Imagine her night, bro. She had to be so stoked. Like, I just walked into Chris Hansen
she's just trying to make a living,
I get to help driving a pedophile.
Toyota Corolla from, you know, New Orleans to Baton Rouge, and she walks into the middle of this show.
So one of the worst, most prolific pedophiles that I met in prison, they called him the Snowman. This dude hadn't seen sunlight on his skin, and I believe he was there 9 years when I got there.
Wow.
And he just never came off the unit. He wasn't allowed to go outside. He knew they'd run something in him. And this dude blamed his mom because he said she ran a daycare and she knew that he had a problem. But he had like over 30 victims. Wow. And this dude was a big old dude. And he'd get beat on the daily. You know, they'd put feces in his food. Anytime they could get their hands on broken glass or fiberglass shards, they'd put it in his food with feces. So he'd be eating it and it would get into his bloodstream. But this dude, anytime anybody said anything to him, he'd be like, it's my mom's fault. This dude looked like the quintessential pedophile, like, but bigger. Like he was huge. Wouldn't put hands on a grown man, even if you were putting hands on him. But he, you know, he ruined 30-something children's innocence. But they always have an excuse. They always have something that they blame.
And they're always weak-minded, like they're weak people. You know, even though that guy was huge, like you said, you know, instead of fighting back or putting his hands on you know, they're weak.
Well, I think it's the guilt. I think that has something to do with it.
No, it's that too. Maybe I don't think they feel guilt.
I don't think they feel guilt.
For themselves, they do.
Nah, they're just weak. They're pussies.
Well, that's that's
why they're picking on children.
They're preying on children because they can't go get a woman their own age.
Yeah,
and that's you know, and some of these sick people, they have these fantasies or whatever, but it still cores, you know, in my opinion, it cores back to they are weak, feeble-minded, poor excuses for men or women. It's not just men, you know, that low self-esteem, low whatever, and they feel they can manipulate children. Yeah, because they can't have a intellectual or romantic relationship with someone their own age.
Well, speaking of fantasies, let's talk about the last thing we did. David brought up a point about Naked Guy.
Yeah,
I'm getting.
Let's talk about that.
Let's talk about Naked Guy.
Well, so it's the week before Christmas, and all through the Predator house, a creature is stirring, except for these guys who showed up. I mean, we had 5 guys in 3 days, including a guy who walked in and stripped naked.
Yeah.
So the decoys who work with the sheriff's office, you know, they take on different roles as underage, you know, communicators, and they're open to this, and some are a little cheeky, and some guys are coming to pay for it. Some guys think they're just in this romantic relationship. And then we have a scenario where an aunt or a stepmother is selling the child, which is mind-boggling to me. But people buy into this, which indicates it's happening in real life someplace. So this guy walks in, and they had talked online about coming in and getting naked. So he walks in, the decoy is there, and she says, well, you're going to do it. And he takes every stitch of clothes off.
Oh, he was naked.
Yeah. And so she leaves, and he says, what about you? And so she leaves, I'll be right back. And so he's standing there covering his genitals.
Didn't take much to cover it.
Yeah.
It was like 2 fingers.
It was winter time, guys. Y'all give him
He
a
still had a knuckle or two to
I
spare.
walk out there and he's holding himself and he's got this look of shock. I said, we already put a towel down on the stool just in case he sat down.
burnt that
Thank
stool.
you for that, by the way.
Yeah.
We burnt that stool.
Trying to have some sense of hygiene in the course of the investigation. So thankfully, he says, can I put my clothes back on? Which I said, yes, please.
Yeah.
And he very quickly gets dressed and he sits down and we start the interview. And he's looking at me like, I'm the bad guy.
Yeah.
And again, he wasn't all there. He didn't have a doctorate.
No.
But he was capable of harming a child. And that's who's out there.
Chris, I loved your one-liners during the Christmas stings. It was so good. Yeah, well, he goes, and there was another one. What did he say? Someone ended up on the naughty list tonight.
Well, and then, we've got these guys, and then we have a guy show up who's an executive, a sales executive with a steel company.
Yeah.
Who's out, Christmas shopping for himself, obviously. Sure. Nice watch, nicely dressed. He's all worried about his business appointment the next day. And he's, if you sat down next to this guy at a lunch counter someplace, you wouldn't think anything was wrong with this guy.
Yeah.
This guy made Jesse Waters the naked guy.
Yes, he did.
Yeah.
National news.
He got on Fox News. He thought he was getting some $200 sexual encounter, and he ended up on Fox News butt ass naked. His parents have got to be so proud of him, bro.
Yeah.
Wasn't he? Didn't he have a 12-year-old or something?
Yeah. Had a daughter.
Oh no, really?
Yeah.
Oh God, that makes my stomach hurt.
Yeah.
Well, so many of these guys have children. I mean, the guy last night who was the coach high school teacher, we're still digging through it. We'll have that on soon on TruBlu. But, he comes in and says, oh, I'm a public figure. I can't be on television. I go, oh, a public figure, are you? Because we did not know.
You messed up.
Yeah. I said, well, thanks for the tip. Now I smell blood.
Yeah.
Right? I'm all over this like a cheap suit.
Yeah.
So I said, what do you mean? He said, well, I work at the high school. And he's got his high school tracksuit on, the high school where he works. I got to be up at 5 a.m. So now I know he's a coach of some sort.
Yeah.
Is he in jail?
He's in jail right now. They locked him up. He tried to run.
That's the one who tried to run.
That's the one who tried to run,
baby.
He got one look at Chris Hansen, and he knew, you saw it, and he turned straight track star, bro. You could see the puddle of piss hit the floor as he was just gone, bro. And I was thinking, I watched all the cops take off. Chris's camera guy got in, and I'm just going, please make this a situation where they release the canine. Please send the fur missile.
Well, they were going to do that.
I want to see the fur missile.
Or as they call it, the fur rocket. And they tell you if the guy bolts, and sometimes they do not get in between the dog and the suspect.
Which dog was it?
You know which dog it was.
Black? Was it the black? So I bought them that dog.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. That dog.
It's psychotic.
I'm not going to say the price of that dog, but that dog is absolutely, when they give that dog the command, don't get anywhere. That thing goes crazy.
So the dog was a little bit out of position at that particular moment. So they weren't able to utilize the services of
it was pouring down rain though too.
Yeah.
Right. It was storming. It was raining. So
it was a monsoon.
Is that dog a Belgian Malinois?
Yeah.
Yeah, dude. Yeah. I didn't want to get close enough. I love all dogs, bro. And I feel like dogs can feel that I love them in my soul, but I was advised not to get near that dog. And I'm going to take that advice, brother. You know what I'm saying?
So it was trained in Arizona. There's 3 huge places in the United States that train those canines. The one in Arizona is like the pedigree, of that's where that dog came from. But that dog, it listens and commands and is obedient to its handler.
Yeah.
Right.
But is completely a devil on 4 legs.
Right.
Yeah.
That thing.
That's what you need, bro. I really want to see it commissioned on a Chomo,
I
bro.
felt bad for the guy in the bike suit when they brought it in and was doing a demo of it, because that thing bites so hard. You know how big those bite suits are.
Oh, yeah.
He was feeling it through, not just the pressure, through the bite suit.
Feeling the teeth.
That thing bites so hard.
Well, when the rest of the sheriff's department is afraid of the dog, that tells you
exactly.
everything you need
And
to
they
know.
are, bro. They are. They were all like, don't get nowhere near that thing, brother. I'm like, facts. If you're telling me, I'm listening.
Yeah.
Like, if you want to get bit, go over there.
That one guy that's the handler, he's the only body that,
Yeah, it messes with it.
no, man, because that thing's crazy.
Yeah, that dog's psychotic.
Man, that'll be some great. hopefully we'll get to see. So if any pedophiles out there watching the show, just come on down.
Yeah, we're waiting for you.
We want to see you get eaten
That
by
brings
a
up
dog.
a question too. You know, if there is somebody out there that has that kind of issue, have you ever done or thought about having something they can reach out to for help if they know that they have that problem?
There are places, and you bring up a great point, and that is, you know, we expose this, we confront these guys. You know, what is our responsibility to try to provide a path forward for those who could be treated, rehabilitated, or enter into some sort of a program? And there's a certain segment of this population, although perhaps not the ones you knew when you were in, who can be rehabilitated and monitored and not offend again. And I hear on my podcast, Predators I've Caught, I hear from these people all the time who say, thank you for doing what you do.
Yeah.
I have an attraction. I keep it in check with therapy. I have an adult partner who understands this. But, you know, these people have to fight it. It's like being an alcoholic or a drug addict that they have to fight. I do have a code for half off the first month of a TruBlu subscription.
All right, here we go.
So if you go to watchtrueblu.com, TRUBLU, and you use X525 as the code, you'll get half off your first month.
X525, we'll put that in right here. And make sure you guys go check that out. So you save some money, check out the content. You will not be disappointed.
And it's not an expensive
no
subscription. I mean, it's I don't know, was it $4.95 a month or something like that? And then we have a YouTube channel where you can check out the content. We're on fast channels on Roku, Pluto, Freevee on Amazon.
Right. And there's a lot of other shows too on TruBlu.
Yes.
Oh yeah, no, it's a whole streaming crime network. So not only do we have the Takedown Predator shows, we have a lot of other documentaries and content and other shows. Iron Sheriff. We've got it. Speaking of dogs, we have a brand new series that goes behind the scenes of training of those dogs.
Oh wow!
Yeah,
nice.
and so that's coming out soon too. And on all these documentaries on topics ranging from you know, enterprising investigative reports on guys who have been online, the Facebook fiend, you know, sextortion, all kinds of True Detective, all that stuff. So
listen though, just on a real level, like I'm on YouTube. I have a large community on YouTube. I love what you put out on YouTube, but I'm just going to tell everybody at home, this is the type of thing you want the uncensored access to, because there are so many limitations, and it's not expensive. And it's worth it to be able to see what's actually going on behind the scenes, to get it uncensored, to be able to get the nuances and the things that Chris is never going to be able to show the majority of that stuff on a YouTube channel. You know what I'm saying?
Well,
it's absolutely worth it.
And imagine for me, a guy who's been doing this work for 40 plus years, you know, to not only own the content now, but to own the distribution of it, and to still have a relationship with, you know, fine folks like you on this platform, and Fox News and Fox Nation, which we're getting ready to do a lot of stuff. My podcast is distributed by Red Seat Ventures, which are the folks who do Crime Con, which is the massive conventions that I always speak at. That just got bought by Fox. And so this whole multi-platform approach to getting this content out there is really coming together, and it's wonderful for a guy at my stage.
It's been impressive to watch, even the short. You know, we're at a little over a year in working together on doing some of this stuff, and just to see the growth in that year's time, man. It's so impressive, and I'm happy
incredible,
for you.
And I appreciate that. But you know, look at this. How did this come together? Jeff Allen reached out and said, "Hey, y'all want to come down there and do a podcast? We'll make you a steak lunch. You can chop it up with the boys and meet the sheriff." In the span of a year, our relationship has grown into this multi-platform content creating machine, along with the Blount County Sheriff, and that leads to other things and other things and other things, and that's how you expand. By getting on a plane and flying to Birmingham, Alabama for a day, chopping it up with some new friends, and then look what's happened.
Yeah, no, it's crazy.
But you don't have the freedom to do that in a traditional media environment.
That's right.
I have the freedom to do that.
Yeah.
And that's what allows me to grow this thing with people like yourselves.
Jeff bought you a steak, man. They just rolled up with a panelless van and threw a pellet case over my head.
I had a big old ribeye. It was a big day.
Drove me all the way here from the West Coast.
Yeah, I slept all the way back to New York after
that was good old Chef Rob.
Yeah.
Big shout out to Chef Rob.
It was the most polite trafficking that's ever happened to me. I thought it was a Canadian at first. I was like, they're so nice. They're being gentle with the ropes.
We kidnap you, then feed you.
Yeah, man. No, it's and big shout out to Chef Rob, man. He really takes care.
He's the best
of everything, and he's so good at what he does. And you know, people get spoiled. They're like, hey, there's some guests that have reached out recently, going, hey, I'm gonna be in the area. But, you know, would love to come back and see y'all. And
y'all shooting any content?
And I'm like, yeah, that'd be great. And they're like, is Chef Rob gonna be there?
Yeah.
And I'm like, sure, bro, we got you. You know, they just want to come get that steak. You know,
I'm interested to see what he has today.
This is my first time in Alabama. Y'all fucked up letting me see how kind and nice you guys are, man. Like, y'all just instantly family. Y'all made a mistake. You're going to see me again.
Man, you know, and it's one of those deals that you grow your network and your core friendships just treating people right. And we're raised in the South to be, you know, to do that. And it's, you know, everybody's always so blown away, but for us, it's just normal.
Yeah.
It's like, it's just what you do, you know?
Yeah.
But it's,
well, it was
cool.
like, you know, last week in Louisiana, you know, we always try to pitch in for catering, and sometimes the sheriff's office will do it, but, you know, the detectives walk in, the captain walks in with chicken cracklins. And have you ever had chicken cracklin?
I have.
And boudin balls.
Yeah, boudin.
Oh, yeah.
Boudin balls.
Yeah.
Say it right. And I love New Orleans food anyway, and Southern food in general, but it was, you know, I was worried I'd be fat as a town dog by the end.
all the sheriff's department over at Blount County, you know, they're always like, they love these things, they love working with Chris, and then they love eating that food because we cater it for everybody, all the deputies, all the people helping with the you know, and it's like, oh man, well, you know, now they're like, well, we hadn't ate much in the last 2 days because we know we got a sting coming up.
Yeah.
And, you know, everybody gains 5 pounds.
Well,
you know,
but Mark actually made a point of that last night to say how grateful he was and how much his guys looked forward to doing those because of how well they were taken care of. They felt like royalty and really appreciated.
They're such good people. And Mark,
they're fantastic.
I thanked him for the work that he was doing, and he's like, honestly, none of this would be possible without Charlie. He's made this available to us, and we would not be able to afford on our resources and our budget to be able to continue to do these types of things in this level, to be able to get, you know, these people off the streets that hurt our kids and our communities without what Charlie's doing, without what Chris is doing. So, man, everybody involved is just 100%.
Well, so much of police work is reactive.
it is.
Right. And you and I have talked about this, and there was a case that you were helping out with. And the police or the sheriffs go to a thing and they take the report and they try to fix it up later. This is proactive.
Yes.
So for every guy you take off who's trying to exploit a child sexually, you're preventing the exploitation of, you know, a dozen to 20 other children.
Absolutely.
And you said you got 11 out of, just behind the scenes, a season is what, 7 episodes?
Yes.
So you almost got 2 seasons out of 1.
And there's more to come, because every time we do this and every time we expand to another jurisdiction, another one wants to do it. So, you know, you end up with, you know, almost a dozen now around the country. And we do them, you know, 3 times each a year, or at least twice. You know, that's a lot of impact.
Well, and, you know, the cool thing, too, that, you know, even Mark has been reached out to is, you know, there's more places, and even in Alabama, that now are interested in having you come. And the cool thing about that is, you know, it's good for that department. It's good for that community, and more people than you think. I'm just one guy, and, you know, and in my team, you know, that's why you got involved. But as far as the sheriff's department, you know, these people are on grants. They only get so much money a year to operate and to pay their people and this and that. So, you know, you can make a difference with your local sheriff's departments and any entrepreneurs, business owners, whatever, or the community band together and say, hey, we want you to, there's an issue here. we want to, as a community, back what you're doing. We're going to help offset any cost, because it's honestly not that much to help and do that. And somebody provide a house, or somebody provide, whatever
food,
and Chris can get involved with that. And I just think that's huge for people to understand. You don't have to be some rich person or this or that. Like, you can just band together and help and do what you can to, if you have issues in that community. And
then you see the sheriffs, some sheriffs, Grady Judd want to be sheriff forever down in Polk County. Yeah. You see Chris Hansen, who's announced that he's going to run for governor of the state of Michigan. Yeah. And so suddenly you see somebody who's had a grassroots operation to help children with his ghost team operations and his, other programs to teach inmates in the county jail how to, work and get jobs and have some self-esteem. And, somebody gets up to a higher platform in politics as a leader, the sheriff's office is a great platform for that. And suddenly you see these larger programs at work, and that's what makes a difference.
And, and let me touch on Chris Hansen for a second. Him and his team are some of the best people I've ever had the pleasure of being around and working with. He sent down his ghost team and he personally came down and helped the Blount County Sheriff's Department, gave them basically a protocol to go by. You have to do this way. This is why. This is it, and walked them through everything, not once, but 3 times.
And still, when the Blount County Sheriff's investigators have a question, they'll call to the ghost team up in Michigan. And I got, this is, you talk about small worlds. During COVID, every guy like me was doing YouTube to get the message out, either on, just using our reportorial skills to say, look, this is what's happening. And because from a kitchen, I could talk to a NYPD commander, emergency room doctor in New York, one at a nurse at University of Michigan, the COVID unit. We were getting just great access. Right. In the course of that, there was a protest in Flint, Michigan, during the George Floyd turmoil. Yes. And Swanson walked with the protesters and peacefully, de-escalated what could have been a very violent situation. Absolutely. And he got attention all over the world.
I remember that footage.
And I had him, he said, walk with me, which is his motto for, running for governor. And I had him on the show. And it was great. And I went over to see him one day, because we have a home in Michigan. My wife and I are both from Michigan. And we met. I said, hey, look, we should team up on predator stuff. Right. And he already had the ghost protocol going, and we started doing this together, and look at what's happened. It's expanded.
His son's down here on this thing.
Yeah. He's one of our cameramen.
Man, nicest guy. One of the nicest guys I met.
Wonderful guy.
Had a real nice conversation with him last night. It's great. Actually talking about Chris running for governor, man, just nicest guy ever. So Chris did well raising his kid.
No, his kids are all great kids.
Yeah.
Wow.
The exposure alone, just exposing all these guys, I'm sure has prevented a couple of victims. Just knowing that how easy it could be to get caught.
What's the statistic? What Chris say the statistic is? 1 in 25.
Yeah.
Like you say,
so
victims?
every predator you take off the streets, you save 25 children from being exploited.
Here's the thing that's crazy, though, is Chris, you and I were talking last night on the way back to the hotel. And I watched so much of your content. I know you could see the recognition when Chris Hansen walks in the room. There's this oh fuck moment where their soul just leaves their body. They're like, and like you were saying, you believe probably close to 75% of them probably have recognized
we've been doing these shows for
decades,
20 years now.
Yeah. So it's crazy to me that these dudes know that there is the boogeyman of the pedophile world out there who will come and snatch your soul, Chris Hansen.
Yeah.
And there's other people out there, doing these types of things, and they'll still show up to these sketchy situations. We had dudes drive in the rain late at night in the dark to a sketchy house, and they're showing up all happy as hell, And how many don't show up for whatever reason? Yeah.
The car isn't working right. They got a call. They had to go into work.
Yeah.
Their wife came home early.
And they always
it's raining too
stake
hard.
out. They always drive
they drive
by.
around. They check it out.
Check out the place.
Counter surveillance.
They know what they're doing is wrong. I mean,
We had a private investigator. Remember the guy that tried to find out who owned the house?
Right.
Yeah.
Did a backlog and tried to come in saying he knew who owned the house.
Yeah.
I mean, they do all kinds of crazy stuff, man.
Well, the dude who ran last night, he parked his car like halfway in the street. He didn't pull in the driveway. He knew there was a chance that he was going to have to bolt.
Absolutely.
And so he left himself positioned so that he could bolt if he needed to. And as soon as he saw Chris, it was.
Well, I had seen him, obviously we have monitors in the room where I'm standing before I approach him. And we like to see the guy interact with the on-site decoy because it shows their intent, it shows their mindset. It's an interesting moment for our viewers.
Right.
And so I try to let that play out as long as possible. And in this case, one of the decoys left and the other continued the conversation. He got off a camera and he was tucked into the living room of the house there, and it. And I said, well, now it's time to go. And so I came around and he didn't even hesitate. I mean, he just went and he got out. Usually they fuss with the door a little bit, or sometimes they lock the door behind them as to not get caught. And that trips him up. And the vast majority of the time I can say, look, you got to sit over there. You don't want to do that. And they'll go. But this guy didn't want to hear it. He just left.
This guy's chat was pretty graphic.
Oh, it was very graphic.
I mean, it was, you'll have to watch the episode.
Yeah.
The language is very, very graphic, but like, it's just an ongoing thing with these guys, the language. And then they come in and act like the guy you're talking about last night, he's like, I didn't do anything. I didn't say that. And you're like, it's right here.
And he said, I thought she was 21. She had to be 21 to get on the platform. I said, she told you over and over again she was 15.
Yeah.
Everybody has to say they're a certain age to get on these platforms. Kids do it all the time, whether it's a gaming platform or a social platform or whatever it is. And Instagram, even the mainstream platforms, you're supposed to be of a certain age. And they circumvent that all the time. And predators know that. And that's why they go there to establish these relationships and these conversations.
He showed up with condoms, weed, 2 guns. He parked like he could get out of there like a bat out of hell. And he knew that he was doing wrong, but he was trying so hard. He thought he was slick as shit. He's like, I didn't do anything illegal. I didn't fuck no one, so I didn't commit a crime. And Chris is just like, sir, I got some bad news for you.
The crime is in the transcripts right there.
Well, no, he was detained, or Chad told him he was detained, and he wanted to know why he had the handcuffs on if he was just detained. And then Lieutenant came out and was like, I just want to go ahead and let you know now, you're under arrest. And boy, his face just went.
Yeah.
Indignant he was that he would have to go through this.
Well, he's a public figure, Chris.
Yeah.
How dare we?
He's going to be a public figure, all right. Wait about 2 weeks, he's going to be a public figure.
I work at a high school with kids the same age I'm here to try to fuck. How dare you do this to me?
Yeah.
He's going to be a star on the TruBlu network.
Yeah. He's going to be a public figure, all right.
Oh, man. Holy crap.
And it's so
True
sick.
reality TV. By the way.
What's your reality?
That's unscripted.
It is.
You see a lot of scripted reality TV. That's not what this is.
Not scripted. Like, it is so, and it's raw and it's real. Like, it's the best content on television. Like, I'm not just saying it. Like,
I know.
Really
I appreciate that.
Well, we're in the middle of an investigation right now.
Yeah.
So
we'll be at work
starting
tonight.
here in a little bit.
had two guys in the investigation last night.
So far, yep.
And the one guy, the second guy, what you're talking about when you talk about the age, remember he came in and the woman told him, or the girl told him she was 15, and he's like, I don't believe it. Her profile said she was 21.
Well, yeah, this guy who's 25, right, and educated and seemingly articulate, tried to tell me that he was going to ask for her ID before they had any sexual encounter.
Yeah.
And that if
I'm
she,
sure.
in fact, was 15, as she informed him during their conversation, that he wouldn't have done it. Yet he emptied his pockets with lubricant and condoms and man wipes.
Dude wipes.
Dude wipes.
Fucking dude wipes, bro. Showing up for a 15-year-old.
That's well prepared.
Laid it all on the counter.
Wow.
So JD, what was your favorite part of that investigation?
Oh man, there was so much about that was amazing. That dude just looked like a Reddit moderator to me, bro.
You
Like
said
I
what,
think he was probably a furry.
What Lieutenant said to him.
Oh yeah, the lieutenant. So like, lieutenant asked him, so do you always ID the women you're gonna have relations with? And like, you could just feel it coming off of his tongue, the sarcasm when he said having relations with women, because you could tell this dude does not do that. And he's like, as a matter of fact, I do. And yo, the lieutenant.
What an outstanding citizen.
Right? The lieutenant was like, yeah, that's probably why you don't have relations with very many women. Just deadpan. And like the dude looked at my wife who was sitting there, Jax, just looked dead at her as she was like trying not to laugh her spleen through her throat. Like she was trying so hard to hold it in. Wow. And like you could see him just go. There was multiple women in the room laughing at you, sir. Just so you know, pederast. There are multiple women in the room laughing at you right now.
And you will also be a star on TruBlu Network coming up in a couple of weeks.
Well, you guys will have to tune in, check that out. That'll be up and coming on TruBlu. And we're gonna kind of cut it a little short today because we really do have to get
in the middle of it,
get back at it, and
get back over there
today.
Yeah.
So,
well, thank you for having me again. It's always a treat, man. I appreciate your support, and I appreciate everything you're doing here on the podcast, and it's fantastic content.
And I was glad old JD came, man. JD's coming out, and I love this guy, man. So he's I love what he stands for. And then when I found out that you guys knew each other and done it, I was like, it's a no-brainer. We got to have him to come up, and hang out with us. So.
It's been an honor to be here and to get to meet all you guys, man. I'm sitting in a room full of heroes, bro. So it's cool to have a seat at this table. Thank you guys for having me. I appreciate your hospitality, and Chef Rob and TruBlu Network.
TruBlu Network. Chris, thank you so much, guys.
Thank you, Charlie.
Make sure, please go TruBlu Network. Check out Chris Hansen's YouTube page. Check out JD DeLay's YouTube page. Amazing content there. Also, again, that promo code
X525.
X525 on TruBlu. Save you a little money and get that lined up. So anyway, we love you guys so much. Great to see you. We'll see you next week. Peace.